Thank you for joining this presentation on Thai data protection. My name is Nicole Hansone. I'm Data Protection Officer at MyData-TRUST. As you probably know, MyData-TRUST offers data protection, security, and other privacy services with a focus on life science. Today is the focus on life science with my colleague, Tida, the expert on Thailand.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to LinkedIn today. So my name is Thida Pavasuti. I am a data protection manager and data protection officer for clients at MyData-TRUST. I'm also a lawyer practicing in the law firm for more than 15 years and also admitted to the Thai bar. So with LinkedIn today, I'm really happy to bring you in the impact of the Thailand's PDPA in the clinical trials context.
As you can see, we have a packed agenda. You will not know everything you need to know about Thailand at the end of this presentation, but at least you'll know what to pay attention to, and perhaps, of course, you can always contact us for details. But it's a packed agenda. I suggest that we start without further ado on, of course, conducting clinical trial in Thailand.
Right. So we first conducting clinical trial. Thailand has been considered as a leader in the medical services. They offer the availabilities and diversity of patients pools. They have highly skills of the research workforce, robust and efficient hospitals infrastructures, strong investment and government support, especially for foreign investors, and also part of the futures of MedHub in Asia. So the PDPA introductions. We're moving forward. Well, Thailand has first enacted the first data protections ever, so-called Personal Data Protection Act, or PDPA. Came into force since 2022. The act is more or less similar to GDPR, that giving the individuals to protect their own personal data and also the upskills the level of their protections within Thailand. The act providing the data protection authorities to issue the subordinate legislations on specific matters, for example, the cross-border data transfers or the criteria for data breach. And now we have at least 12 subordinated legislations that has been released by the PDPC. So PDPC is a short form Personal Data Protection Commissioners. PDPC has main responsibilities to overall master plan for giving the advice, issue notifications to the public sectors or private sectors when carrying out the processing activities in Thailand.
Can you speak a bit about the team that makes up PDPC? When I first started studying on Thai PDPA, I found it quite interesting. If you can a bit elaborate.
Sure. So PDPCs as also a subordinated committees. Subcommittees are divided also in the industries, can be financials, insurance, and recently they just appointed the subcommittees with healthcare sectors. So they combined with the healthcare experts, clinical trial experts, and also data protection expertise within these committees.
Very good. Nice to have specialists.
Exactly. And scope of the PDPAs, with a few exceptions, like homes processing at home activities, Thailand's PDPA applies to any persons or legal entities that collect, use, and dispose of personal data. By collecting, use, and disclose personal data is more or less similar, but different terminologies from the GDPR when they use the term of processing. The scope of PDPAs is in terms of material scope, any collection, use, and disclose personal data by the controllers or processors that is established with the Kingdom of Thailand. They all stick to the Thailand's PDPA. But if any collect, use, and disclose personal data by the controllers or processors established outside of Thailand, that either offering good service to the persons in Thailand, regardless where the payment has been made, they want to monitoring behaviors of the states where the monitoring take place in Thailand. Is familiar with GDPR, where it's the organization that established outside of Thailand still subject to the Thai's PDPA.
Okay, so we're looking close to the GDPR. How about with anonymized versus pseudonymized? Are we also looking close to GDPR?
Right. It's not clearly defined within PDPA. Anonymizations has been mentioned in the recent 13 subordinate legislation that has been under the consultation, public consultations, but has not yet released. Basically, one of the requirements of anonymizations has been mentioned for when the state exercise the rights to be forgotten or when the periods of retention period has ended. So if there is anonymized, that will be out of scope of the Thai PDPA. However, the pseudonymized data is still subject to the Thai PDPA.
All right, so we're still where anonymized is no linkage anymore,
Right.
while pseudonymized is
Still single out to link to the natural person, then they're still subject to the PDPA.
all right. Thank you.
The actors. So, data controllers is a person's or jurisdiction person that has the power and duties to make decisions on any collection, use, and disclose personal data. But data processors is any persons or legal person that operates as under given instructions of data controllers or on behalf of data controllers. However, under Thai PDPA, there's no definitions of the joint controllers. So then there will be both separate the controllers.
No joint controls and no third parties either?
No, third party is not defined under the Thai PDPA as well.
So how does it work for us?
We'll see in the next two slides.
Okay.
Now the data protection officer. Data protection officers, DPO, must be appointed under certain circumstances for public authorities, for example, regulatory monitoring, systematic monitoring at the large scales, also processing sensitive data. Sensitive data in clinical trial context, we have processing the medical records, health cares, the genetic data, biometric data, and also racial ethnicity. These are sensitive data, and the BO must be appointed when we conduct clinical trials in Thailand.
And I guess the DPO must speak Thai.
It doesn't have to. The DPO can locate it outside of Thailand.
Okay.
But it is strongly recommended because any communications with the data protection authorities and also the section is Thai, then it must be in local language.
Okay.
Right.
For the
DPR's data protection representative is if the organization established data controller or processor established outside of Thailand, they must appoint the DPR. DPR must be a legal entity that resides located in Thailand to act on behalf without limited liabilities and must be convenient to be contacted by the data protection authorities or by data subjects.
So when it comes to the actors in the clinical trial, do we have a more simple landscape to work with?
Under the clinical trials actors is the writers, the controller, processors. So now we know that we have research sponsors and organizations. Process receive the personal data according to the expert committees' opinions. The research sponsors is considered as a data controller. It's more or less similar to our in the AUs. Clinical sites or the hospitals is still considered as a data controllers according to their expertise committees. Why? Because there is the possibilities for them to make decisions when conducting the clinical trials. And also the PI, private investigators, or researchers, they're assimilated under the clinical sites or the hospitals. Therefore, there will be the controllers with the clinical sites.
So we will not see an agreement with the PI as processor. No. PI is an affiliate of the site and that's it.
Right, unless they're really acting autonomously. Then that we can consider in different circumstances. For vendors, as we know, we have laboratories, we have cloud systems, we have the central labs, ATMS vendors. These vendors act on behalf or under instructions of the sponsors. Therefore, they consider as a data processors. So the regulatory body, neither the processors nor the controllers, there plays no roles within the scope of PDPA.
All right.
Right. Lawful basis. Now we're talking about when you process personal data in Thailand, what lawful basis you can use. The consent, as defined by the PDPA, is not, of course, the first is not the most recommended one, definitely.
Okay, same.
So consent must be given prior or at the time of collections of personal data. It must be explicitly in writings or via electronic means, and the subject must be able to withdraw at any time of her consent. And the minors below age of 10 years old, the consents of parental authorities must be received. And in Thai law, Thailand's Civil Code of Conduct, the minor under age of 20 is considered as minors. So when the processing of data of minor between age of 10 to 20 years old, you must obtain both consents from parents and also for the minor himself, unless it is the ordinary activities, they go buy the groceries and you don't need to,
Of course.
right? Then finally, not yet, minor is considered vulnerable. Therefore, when you're processing the children data, for example, for purpose of the gamings and business, you must be careful because under the PDPC authorities has paid extra attention. Therefore, any processing activities of children, it will just take more extra care as the penalties can be resolved as higher amounts of fines and criminal liabilities.
Okay, so regular data between the age of 10 and 20,
Right.
you will need parental consent.
Regular and sensitive.
And sensitive data will be the same as well.
And also, I'm sorry. The last point is that you must inform the subject of mandatory information. This is similar to Article 13, 14 of GDPR, where you have a set of information you must inform to the subject before you collect the data. So, inform of privacy notice, privacy policies, whatever you call it, or the ICF in the context of clinical trials.
Okay, more on regular data?
And we move forward without consent, which doesn't mean that you can only use the consent, but without consent, you can also process personal data under the lawful basis of preparation for historical documents, archiving for public interest, or purpose relating to research or statistics. Or we will discuss further some these topics because it's relating to the clinical trials contacts. And for the preventing separations and danger, this can be another lawful basis, vital interest. And the next one is necessary to implement contracts that you can use also at the legal basis.
Okay, so we have also 6 legal bases here.
Right. The legitimate interest of the controllers, and also lastly is the legal applications necessary to compliance with the law. And now we're moving forward.
Yes.
Sensitive data. Okay? So basically, processing sensitive data is prohibited. I think it's similar to GDPR, where it's just prohibited without explicit consent. But we'll go directly to the last point that we will discuss with regarding to the clinical trials on the next slide, where you also have these exemptions where the purpose is necessary to compliance with legal obligations to achieve the respect to the scientific, historical, statistics research purpose. We'll see the next slide. What are these exemptions for research? And these are combined called research exemptions. Remember,
The refers is quite large, as I can see. Can you expand a little bit? Because I think it's a very interesting topic that we don't know necessarily, and I think it's nice to have more information on what research entails in Thailand.
Right. Notification with regard to the research exemptions has been defined the research itself as refers to any systematic study, analysis, experimentation, testing, or processes that conduct acquire the new knowledge is a very key point, or academic principles. And it also can be the basic research or applied research, R&D. It doesn't have to be the scientific research. It can be social research, or research on AI, research on social orientations. So as long as it's bring new knowledge or academic principles, as well as developing of the technologies and innovations. However, there's some conditions that we will discuss later. Again, to recap, as we mentioned earlier, there are a full basis that's specific for research. For regulators under Article 24, and for sensitive data is under Article 26. These are accumulating called research exemptions. Research exemptions, according to the notifications of research exemptions from the PDPCs, you must also have, this is the conditions, you must have the appropriate measures. Appropriate measures is defined within these notifications. What are them? The research exemptions, to use these research exemptions, you must have the first, for regulators, technical and organizational measures, security measures, the international standards, that's for regulators. But for the sensitive data, besides these technical organizational measures like STOMs or physical measures also included, the security measures as defined by Article 37 of Thailand's PDPAs, and also the international standards also is very important. It's specifically defined as refers to the Belmont Report, the ICS-GCP, STIOM's WHOs, so, and also must be approved by ethical committees. So these are appropriate measures when you use research as one of the lawful bases. And further to that, you must obtain the participants' consent. This is different. Just to be known that consent here is not consent to process personal data, but it's consent to participate in the trials or in the study or in the research.
As we already have today, so
Exactly.
that doesn't change.
Right.
So consent to participate, but no consent as a legal basis for processing data.
No, that's not recommended, right? Other than that, also you need to ensure that you must inform the mandatory informations and also inform them of the data subject rights. We will discuss later what are data subject rights under the PDPA.
All right, moving on to the obligations of a controller.
Yes, it seems a lot, but they are more or less aligned with the GDPR. So they must provide the appropriate security measures, of course, and take the steps to ensure to prevent the unauthorized access or unauthorized disclosures, and ensure any disruptions or irregular disruptions when the retention period ends. And that's what we just mentioned regarding to a future notification that will be released by the PDPA, 13 subordinate regulations. And the controllers also have the obligations to notify personal data breach to the PDPCs without undue delay for 72 hours when become aware of the data breach. Any organizations that is to reach outside of Thailand, it must appoint the DPR, the data protection representative that we just mentioned, to act and to be convenient contact by the state and data protection authority.
For us more versed with the GDPR,
Right.
is the data breach definition in Thailand similar to that of the GDPR?
Yes, we'll have the next slides to discuss specifically on personal data breach. DPRs must be appointed and according to certain circumstances that we just mentioned, and maintain a profile is also mandatory. Report of data processing activities. Privacy notice ICF must be given, as we just mentioned, it's one of the obligations. And if there are controllers and there are processors, there's just the roles, then data processing agreement is required. Then lastly, the cross borders of data transfers. It must be framed correctly. We also have a slide with regarding to this data transfer as well.
Okay. One question on all those obligations. I mean, there are a couple that, we know are the most challenging. So one of them is the ROPA, because we know the ROPA is very time consuming. It's a big piece of the compliance.
Yeah.
Do we have the ROPA for Thailand to satisfy Thailand requirements? Can we use the ROPA as we know it's
In for the GDPR.
okay?
Right. It doesn't define specific needs, and we don't have a specific notification regarding to ROPA. But it's recommended to have all information, even the consent management. It should be
Consent
documented.
management should be
Right.
documented.
Exactly. So it's more or less similar to the GDPRs for what information that has to be there, but need to be ensured, because this will be the first information that when the Data Protection Authority, PDPCs, come out, knock your door, and then they will figure it out what data are being processed in your day-to-day operations and how do you manage them.
Good. Authorities are connected.
Right. Data subject rights. Data subject rights is similar to the GDPRs. We have the rights to be informed, the right to access, as the right to data portabilities, right to object, right to be forgotten, right to restrict processing activities, and the right to rectifications. And don't forget, if we talk about the consent as a lawful basis, they must have the rights to withdraw at any time.
Okay.
Yeah. So, if you notice, there's something missing here.
Yes.
The rights to be
Automated processing.
exactly the automated decision making is not defined under PDPA, and the procedures is slightly different when there's a exercise their rights. There's also the time frames where 30 days is applied.
Okay.
To respond to the subject, but it's only applied to rights to access.
Only
And
to the
we're
rights to
still looking forward to if the PDPC will issue any notifications to have clear explanation if this time frames will also applicable to others rights that has been exercised by the subjects, and also there's no extensions under Thai PDPA.
No extension. So we don't know at this point whether the site, you said the right of access,
Right.
we don't know whether we have to answer in 7 days or 30 days. Right now we don't.
Well, not yet. Just only for the rights to access. Personal data breach.
Personal, yes.
Personal data breach. It can be it's also happened in Thailand. If I just remember, as I was talking to you, that in Thailand we have the case where there's the medical records data in paper has been used for the snacks. For the, right, and for the vendors that foods, they use the papers of medical records with names and information
Definitely.
as the bag for the food and the vendors dish. So yes, that's also a breach of personal data breach, obviously. So there are 3 parameters, same as GDPR: breach of confidentialities, integrities, and availabilities. It's the controllers, processors must ensure the terms, the technical and organizational measures in place. Ensure you train your company personnel to recognize what is data breach. Data breach response plan should also be performed when there's when you discover data breach. What should you do? And this is also in line with the I should mention about the notifications of the PDPC with regarding to the criteria and procedures when notifying the personal data breach. There are very nice guidelines and details of what their expectations in terms of when you notify the personal data breach, timely notification, the same as GDPR. You have 72 hours once you become aware of. However, the triggers of 72 hours may slightly different from the GDPRs. Under these notifications, the PDPCs has been defined as it triggers when you ensure that there's risk, then the 72 hours will trigger.
Okay, so from the moment you have assessed and you know what.
Exactly.
Okay.
And also there's also 15 days leeway that you can still but with justifications, if you didn't notify or under certain circumstances you still couldn't notify within 72 hours, you have 15 days to notify with the justifications. And of course, it must be in the local language.
I was just going to say, yes, that's the
Exactly.
caveat for
Right.
us.
And everything must be documented. Documentation is the key for every correspondence and everything.
Now, our favorite topic, the transfer.
Right, that's a lot of questions on cross-border data transfers because there's a lot of sponsors that conducting clinical trials in Thailand or any others processing activity in Thailand as well. So, first is the whitelist country. Unfortunately, PDPA has not yet approved the whitelist country. According to the PDPA, you can also apply the derogations. Derogations can be the ex-consent, vital interest, or you need to transfer to perform the contracts. And BCRs also defined, and also notifications regarding to cross-border data transfer that recently released since last year defines that if you transfer within the multi-jurisdictional organizations, you can also apply for BCRs. However, this still must be approved by the PDPC and still not certain for a time frame that you will get response and approval from them. Certifications can also be applied, but it's not released yet. So lastly, appropriate safeguards, right? This is really commonly used. So these notifications also defines the appropriate safeguard that can be used when data is transferred from Thailand. They could be the manual contracts, show clause between parties. There are under the notifications, they give you a guideline and outline the set of the contractual clauses that must be defined in the contracts. Or you can also opt for the foreign models that might be more convenient for some organizations. It can be ASEAN models, MCCs, or the European SCCs as well. That, however, don't forget that you must tailor into
In Thai.
local legislation. You cannot just copy and paste because it's really tailored for EU, and now you need to tailor into the Thai law. And other models can also be released by the PDPC.
So it's not just enough to download the EU SCCs in Thai. They have to be also tailored to the expectation of Thai.
Exactly.
Not just the EU SCC as they are.
Right, and you need to use the appropriate models. We have 4 models, right? And also translations must be correct.
Now, given the choice of between the manual clause, the foreign model, and so on, which one would you advise?
The manual clauses, I would say, if the organization is already familiar with the foreign models, like many of our plans to use the EU SCCs, would prefer to use the EU SCC, and also it's based on the geographics. If you transfer within ASEAN's models can be used as well. And yes, it is also worth to know that this notification has been released since last year, and the effective date was March 24. If you still not implemented any transfer tools, it is the time.
This is it.
Absolutely.
Is there a grace period? No.
It has been passed.
Okay. All right. Well, talking about penalties and liabilities.
So there are criminal liabilities, civil liabilities, and administrative orders. So civil liabilities can be fined up to 5 million baht, and criminal liabilities, unfortunately, if there's any serious breach or violation of legislations, can be imprisonment fine for 6 months, or the fine for 500,000 baht, or both. And also, the administrative court can also issue the warnings or ban the data processing, or just asking to erase the data.
Those penalties and liabilities, they apply to controllers and processors?
Yes.
Good.
But not the DPO.
Not DPO.
Right.
Thank you. That's what I
But
was
also
hoping to hear.
DPO has been addressed as if they intentionally leak out information of organizations then that can be committed crimes or tort litigations that could be occur as well.
Well, just like any new data protection law, we know that we have challenges and opportunity. Maybe we can go through some of the challenges.
Right. What do you think, Nicole?
I think that the challenge for me is it mirrors the GDPR. So for someone in the EU who is GDPR certified, we would fall back by default on the GDPR and make assumptions. That could be incorrect, because I understand too since I've been following you that it's a very active PDPC is very active. Things change often. So to me, understanding the nuance and staying on top of it is going to be a big challenge. And of course, well, I'm lucky I have a Thai native, but it's more than luck. It's necessary, a Thai native. Because it's also an alphabet that it's not. You can't improvise becoming a Thai.
Any communications with those texts, they are Thai or the PDPC, there must be, it's not just the regular language. I would say there's still more formal language.
You don't improvise that over 3 months, definitely. One thing too, as DPO, well, you have the subordinate laws. There, depending on your industry, you really have to know them, and maybe your industry crosses different subordinate laws. So it's a bit more intricate, perhaps. And of course, my pet peeve is data transfers, and it remains my pet peeve here because I feel it's even a bit more challenging. Also, given the translation necessary. But then perhaps you can give us the other
it also can be an opportunity. Besides that, we have the nice facilities and one of the best hospitalities in the world, I would say. We have 5-star hospitals in Thailand. Research exemption is one of the best pro for any kind of research, as we mentioned, social research, AI research, or the clinical research, and it's applied to basics or applied. It can be using the data or even second use, reuse of data. It is as long as it falls under this research exemption.
So secondary use of data, as long as it falls under research for new knowledge or new development, can run it.
But don't forget, appropriate measure must be put in place.
But it's a very interesting point, though.
Exactly. Again, benefits of sponsors that plans to conduct clinical in Thailand. So these exemptions will release your burdens when you need to obtain the consent for the subjects, or when the subjects withdraw the consent to processing of personal data. Then, and also the consent management procedures, even though you already have implemented in your organizations. And also the GDPR compliance, yes, we have, and you can also apply for the EU SECs that you're already familiar with. But there, of course, there's still some differences and nuance regarding to the leeway of the GDPR. I would also say that PDPA is very active, not in terms of enforcement also, but also they're actively providing the advice and giving support to the industry sectors. They just appointed the new committees with regarding to the healthcare sectors, medical sectors, which the persons or expertise in the clinical trials and also others like hospitals or research itself. And also we have PDPA centers when you just call and asking for information. If you have
and you can call any day, or like some where you can call only on Monday.
Still the business days, I would say. And you can also report the data breach. If you're personally is received, have a doubt if this is a data breach or not. And PDPC also have the Eagle Eye PDPC. This is interesting. That might be part of the committees that investigating if there's anything violating the legislations. But more or less, I would say there's still a lot of opportunities for any organization or sponsors that conduct clinical trials in Thailand,
especially if they have someone on the board who is actually
And as mentioned in the beginning, We'll have a governmental support in terms of business opportunities. We have a big incentives for foreigner investment. That will be tax exemption for foreign investors. So that will be part of the opportunities that not in the data protections, but also it's
No, but it does help with the research, definitely. All right. I don't know if there are any questions. It was very interesting. There's a lot more questions, of course, to get into details.
right.
But we can just in 1 hour cover all that. I think we have covered a lot already.
Right.
If someone perhaps you want to mention something in particular about Thailand, I'll mention something special about
Yes.
MyData-TRUST.
Yes, that's true. As MyData-TRUST is working closely with their partners on the monitoring the compliance and of the subordinate regulations as being comes out. So we providing the advice on the Thailand's PDPAs and to ensure that they'll also compliance with the regulations. So there will be benefits for the companies.
Thank you. On my side, MyData-TRUST will be in North Carolina in September. There's a summit at the Research Triangle Park, of course. And if you get it in your agenda, it would certainly be very interesting.
Right.
It's on September 10th. Look it up and you'll see a link pretty soon for the summit. We have some very interesting speakers, people from different experience. And it's also, interesting to look at their experience, their path, and so on.
We got a question.
Yes.
Does the research definitions apply to an observational clinical study? Observationals, be monitoring the behavior of patients.
Okay, so it does apply.
It does apply, definitely.
All right.
Any more questions? There's no questions. All right. So thank you for joining us today. So I hope it's very useful for everybody who has travel in Thailand or any operation activities in Thailand. So
All right. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.